Thank you. Item 1B, approval of agenda and items for discussion.
I move that the agenda for the August 10th, 2026 regular meeting be approved.
Support.
A motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. This is motion to approve the agenda and items for discussion. Brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. Item 1C, consent agenda.
I move that the consent agenda for the August 10th, 2026 regular meeting be approved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Campbell, supported by Ms. Custodio. Consent agenda. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. The motion is consent agenda, brought forward by Mr. Campbell, supported by Ms. Custodio. Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. Item 1D, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Hughes.
Yes, thank you. Good to see everybody tonight. Lots of little ones in the house. We'll have Mrs. Gunn, why don't you come up first with our new hire?
Good evening. I'm pleased to recommend Hannah Carney for a second grade teaching position at Creekside Elementary. Hannah brings direct experience teaching second grade, a strong background in literacy instruction, and a genuine commitment to supporting the academic, social, and emotional needs of elementary students. When talking to Hannah's references, they said she demonstrated the ability to successfully manage a classroom, monitor student progress, provide targeted reading intervention, and implement behavior supports to meet a variety of student needs. Hannah also has a meaningful connection to Hartland community. She's a Hartland graduate and the parent of 4 children who also attend Creekside. She understands our community not only as an educator, but also as a parent, and expresses a strong desire to contribute to the school that has played such an important role to her own family. Hannah describes her classroom as one built on strong relationships, clear expectations, and a love of learning. Her emphasis on hands-on learning, differentiated instruction, collaboration with colleagues, and strong family partnerships aligns well with the type of staff that I have at Creekside, so we strive to provide the best for Creekside students. I believe Hannah's second grade experience, structured literacy background, dedication to children, and connection to our school community will make her a valuable addition to the Creekside team. I am pleased to recommend Hannah Carney for hire as a second grade teacher at Creekside Elementary and look forward to the contributions she will make to our students, staff, and families. Welcome, Hannah.
Thank you.
Anything you want to say?
Yes. I just want to thank you all so much for this opportunity. I'm so excited to be an Eagle again.
Welcome back to the nest.
Thank you.
Miss Brisky, you want to come up? Bring our 2 friends?
All right. I am pleased to introduce Indigo Lee. Indigo Lee will be teaching 5th grade math and social studies for us. Indigo comes with 6 years of experience in a different school district, and when we had our interview with her, with our interview committee, she brings a lot to the math department in specific training that Mrs. French was very excited to collaborate with. So she was a shoo-in for that training, in addition to her love for children and her want to show student growth, monitoring progress and collecting data, showing how all that tells the whole picture of the child. So I'm super excited to introduce Indigo. She also went to Farms when I called her and I said, okay, do you want to come to Farms? Like, do you know where it's at? She's like, I went there. I'm like, okay. Her husband graduated from Hartland, so she's kind of back home as well. So Indigo Lee.
I also wanted to say thank you for giving me this opportunity, and it feels really good to be back in my own, or my old stomping ground, so thank you.
Next up, we have Chrissy Mann. Chrissy comes to us living in the community with 2 children that go to Hartland, and that always holds a special place in my heart because everybody knows mine do too. So there's a dedication to that, to wanting to be the best. She comes to us, she's going to be a special education resource room teacher. In that role, kind of at Farms, we collaborate a lot with students, or with teachers in the gen ed, as well as working with students in all areas. She brings a wealth of knowledge with 23 years experience. During her interview and the references that we called, they talked a lot about how she builds relationships with students, does best for the student, all based upon data and student growth. That is what we do at Farms and what we do in Hartland, so we are super excited to welcome Chrissy Mann.
Thank you, and I also like to thank all of you too, and this just kind of feels full circle to have my whole family here in Hartland now, so thank you.
And Mr. Fitzgerald.
All right, good evening. Thanks for having us. Excited to introduce Michelle Morello as Hartland High School's new special education teacher. She's going to be teaching, team teaching ELA. Next school year. She has some great experience, mostly with Livonia Public Schools, where she was for several years. Took some time off to be a mom, and then got back into it most recently with Brighton Schools as a paraprofessional. She's going to be wonderful. She's going to do a great job for us. I reached out to her principal in Livonia. He was actually in the UP with no signal, and he drove to town just to tell me how great Michelle is and how great she's going to be. He described her as a team player that provides great supports for students, is willing to do whatever it takes to do a great job, takes feedback and responds well, is versatile, is great for school climate and culture, and will thrive as a teacher in Hartland. She's meeting with her mentor and team teacher tomorrow, and then new teacher orientation on Wednesday. So we're excited to get started.
I just want to thank you all so much, and thank you so much, James, for having me. I'm really looking forward to getting back into teaching again, and I can't wait till next week to get things moving. Thank you so much.
So board, just so you know, we do have in community, if you know anybody, we do have a couple more positions to fill. We have a middle school counselor. I know that Mr. Howerton's got some interviews lined up. We added a village elementary kindergarten position, so we're looking to fill that. And then we currently have a round music teacher position, and we'll see how that goes. So there may be some internal candidates that might apply for that, which would cause some musical chairs, but other than that, we are looking pretty good. So the next time you see candidates, I will already hired them emergency-wise to get them on board, and then I'll just bring them to the board for the final approval. So sometimes that's just what we have to do as we get close to the school year. So ends the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Let's see, next up is call to the public. I have 3 cards. Renee, do you have any other cards? Okay, thank you. Let me find my notes. For call to the public, speakers are asked to express themselves in a civil manner with due respect for the dignity and privacy of others who may be affected by your comments. Each speaker may be limited to 3 minutes. I'll hold up this yellow folder at approximately 2.5 minutes to let you know that time is about up and ask you to wrap things up after 3 minutes. First up, we have Brianne Naughty.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Brianne Naughty. I am here tonight in support of the request my husband Matt has made regarding bus stops serving the Irish Hills subdivision. I want to start by acknowledging something that has been repeated throughout our correspondence. The district believes the current stops are safe and meet its transportation requirements, and I understand and agree with that. But I think there is an important difference between asking, is the current arrangement considered safe, and asking, is there a safer and better option available to us? That is really why we are here. We have proposed moving the 2 existing bus stops back inside of our subdivision to Wicklow Hill Court and Tipperary Trail and the eastern intersection of Dublin Drive and Tipperary Trail. We are not asking for additional stops. We are not asking the district to increase the route distance. We are not asking for something that would add time to the route or negatively affect its efficiency. The issue of time is especially important because it takes us back to why these stops were moved in the first place. When the district announced these transportation changes in 2024, Mr. Hughes explained the challenges created by the bus driver shortage and the need to make routes more efficient. In that communication from July 2024, he specifically told families, in all caps and bolded, the quote, "Time is the issue." He explained that the district's goal was to drive fewer roads and make fewer stops so the district could reduce the number of drivers and buses needed. This context matters. The stops in our neighborhood were not originally moved because the interior locations had been deemed unsafe. The reason communicated by Mr. Hughes was efficiency and time. If time was the issue that led to this change 2 years ago, and the alternative we have proposed does not negatively affect time, what operational reason remains for denying the alternative? I understand the district's position that students at the current stop should remain inside the subdivision until the bus arrives and activates its lights, but as a parent, I have to ask, if these children can wait and board the bus further inside their own neighborhood away from Dean Road and Old US 23, particularly on dark fall and winter mornings, why wouldn't we choose that option if it can be accomplished without an operational downside? We aren't asking anyone to say the current route is unsafe. We are asking you to consider whether there is a better option. If 2 options meet the district's requirements, but one keeps children further from major roads, maintains the number of stops, and does not affect time, then our option deserves serious consideration. This is a small change, but for families and children who live in our neighborhood, it matters. Hartland asks our students to live by the 3 R's: reason, respect, and responsibility. I believe those same principles should guide the decisions we make for them. Reason asks us to consider whether there are better alternatives. Respect asks us to genuinely consider the concerns being raised by families, and responsibility asks us to choose the option that is in the best interest of our students rather than simply maintaining status quo. So tonight, I respectfully ask the board to do more than simply hear our concerns. I'm asking you to encourage the administration and transportation department to take a more objective look at the 2 proposed locations. Compare them side by side and determine whether there's any measurable operational reason they cannot be implemented. If there is, we would like to understand it. But if there isn't, then I believe the question becomes very simple. Why wouldn't we choose the option that is best for our kids? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Naughty. Next up is Joe Wallace.
Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you probably remember me from interviewing for the open school board position last year. Just wanted to do a call to the public today for those in the room and watching at home or live streaming that I'm running again. Joe Wallace for the school board. So I just want to introduce myself again. So if you see me around town, Rural King, Hartland, Speedway, any of the stops in the area, feel free to stop by, say hello, ask any questions you might have. Any of my information's on my website, wallaceforheartland.com. And I really look forward to the opportunity to work with Hartland Schools. I'm a Hartland graduate, Hartland parent, been in this community my whole life, and really passionate about the Hartland Schools. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Next up is Matt Naughty.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, members of the board and administration. I would like to first thank you all for the work that you do on a daily basis. I am well aware of how difficult all of your positions are, and I thank you for your work. I am not here tonight to push on a political agenda, criticize our schools or staff, question the curriculum, or challenge programs that support our Hartland students. We have lived in the community for 9 years now and have 2 children that attend Hartland Consolidated Schools. We have been incredibly happy with Mr. Reck and his staff at Village and Ms. Brisky and her staff at Farms. Since the district now has changed the bus routes in 2024, my wife and I have been communicating with the Transportation Department, Mr. Hughes, and the board regarding the stops servicing the Irish Hills neighborhood. Prior to 2024, there were 2 stops located within our subdivision that safely and efficiently served our students. These stops were moved to entrances of our neighborhood, one on Dean Road and one on Old 23. I am asking these 2 stops to be returned to the previous locations within our neighborhood. It saddens to me that what I believe is a simple and reasonable request is come to this point. Based on our discussions with the board and staff, my understanding of the routes, this would not change or increase the number of stops, added mileage, affect route timing, or reduce the overall efficiency of the route. It simply returns the stops where they are safe, where they were previously, returning to a safer environment for all students. To paint a picture for some of you that might not know, we have Dean Road here, Old 23 here. Our 2 entrances connect the 2. There are 0 stops between the 2 entrances of the neighborhood. So the bus can safely travel through the neighborhood, stop within the neighborhood. We're not asking to add stops at all, just previously where they were. I also understand there may be concerns about setting a precedent. It was recently shared with me by a board member that you have received numerous stop requests and changes. The administration may be thinking that if they approve this request, then it will be expected they approve other requests. However, I would hope that these are looked at on an individual basis. These improve safety without impacting district finances, operations, route timing, or efficiency, and would be strongly considered and evaluated on an individual basis. If a request negatively affects those factors, then denying it makes perfect sense, but it does not in this case. I would like to hear from administration again as to why this can't be granted. Is it simply because the route has run this way previously? Is it because we don't enter other neighborhoods? I would like to just hear another reason why. My purpose tonight is to simply make the community be aware that this request has been denied with no good explanation other than it meets the criteria of the board that the board has agreed to. I'm not arguing that. I agree that it meets the criteria. I'm requesting the change to improve safety of students and do what's best for our kids, all while not having any impact on the current route. I sincerely hope that moving forward, whenever there's an opportunity to improve student safety and do what's best for kids without creating operational or financial burdens, those operations will be embraced. Thank you again for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Naughty. I will follow up with Mr. Hughes following the meeting regarding that. Moving on to committee and building reports. Mr. Gogolewski.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Although I don't really have a building report, I just want to state that my company is now a proud sponsor of Hartland Robotics, and we're quite proud and enthusiastic about that and helping those folks out. And by the way, if you have kids, you may want to give Hartland Robotics a little look and maybe get them involved and interested, heartlandrobotics.org. Also, earlier, I had a great conversation with a couple of admin regarding a subject that we're going to be talking about later on this evening, regarding a search for superintendent. And I'll have a little bit more about that input later. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Yep, a couple things. 2 weeks ago, we had the Fowlerville Family Fair, and we had members from the public walking through to see all the exhibits that some kids from the district showed, livestock and non-livestock, and it was nice to see members of the community there and also what the students did. Pretty impressive. And last week, I was fortunate enough to chaperone at a band camp Sunday through Saturday. I think we had 178-ish kids somewhere in there. So the band is an incredibly large size. Band camp was great, went smoothly, and there's so many people to thank, but notably Mr. Lively, Mrs. Lively, and Mrs. Tennis. Appreciate them. So if you see them in town, tell them thanks for what they put on for the kids for band camp. And if you can make it to the football games or any performances, you want to check it out. They're going to have featuring Phineas and Ferb. If you know them, like them, it's an incredible show. So great week at band camp.
Awesome. Thank you. Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you. I just do have one quick update. I know at the last meeting, we talked about the ad hoc committee that was created for looking at the superintendent evaluation. So we have entered, the district has entered into a contract with Dr. Rod Green, who works for MASB. He will be our consultant. Basically, the goals of the contract will be looking at the evaluation tool options, the rubrics, doing an analysis of student growth and metrics, and sort of looking forward to what we're going to do, what we're going to include starting in January of 2027 in the superintendent evaluation process. He will present to the full board as needed, meet with the committee as needed. We don't have a meeting scheduled yet. We will do that after we talk about committee meetings tonight, but I just wanted to give an update that we do plan on moving forward with having Dr. Green help us work on the metrics for the superintendent evaluation starting in January of 2027.
Great, thank you. Mr. Keller?
No report.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Scott?
No report.
Thank you. Ms. Custodio?
No report.
Thank you. I just have a couple quick items. The Senior Center, the advisory committee meets every 2 months, so we'll meet again. I'll have an actual update for our next meeting, but in the meantime, just note that August 31st through September 4th is their annual free week of fun. So if you want to check out what kind of services and programming they offer, please stop by and check it out. As mentioned at last month's meeting, all the board members have been assigned to their liaison schools. Thank you, Mr. Keller, for doing that. I have the pleasure of being assigned to Lakes this year, and I'm looking forward to meeting with Mrs. Fraser later this month. Thank you for coordinating your calendar with me and getting all those visits scheduled. So that was super helpful to get those knocked out. All right. Moving on to item 2A, revised policy 155, committees.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the board president, approves revised policy 0155, committees as presented.
Support.
A motion by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Any discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yeah, President Coleman, one, I guess, clarification I just wanted to ask, where I guess it's sent, I appreciate the numbers, so whoever added that, thank you for the line numbers. That's very helpful.
Neola. That's
All
the
right.
new format from Neola.
So thank you, Neola. So it would be, I guess, either line 24 or 25, depending on whether it's up or down. But it says the committee structure and assigned duties must be approved at a meeting of the board by a majority vote. And I know that was kind of in relation to some previous comments that several board members, including myself, made. So appreciate that it's in there. I just wanted to make sure that I understand when we say committee structure, what is the meaning of structure in this context? Does structure include members? Or is it only refer to more of an
That's
operational?
an excellent question. I guess perhaps we should define that more clearly. In my mind, it was the initial document that I had sent out as a draft and asked board members to provide what committees they might be interested in, and give me feedback, which is what we had kind of based that discussion off of before. In that document, it currently includes the members assigned to it. So in my mind, it includes members, but if there's discussion, I don't know, let's discuss. Are there opinions about whether or not it should include the members in that approval or as part of the structure? Do we want to be more specific?
I think I would say that, to me, structure is, I think, who and what. Who's on the committee and what's the purpose of the committee? What are the goals, or what is that committee supposed to do? We could change the word from structure, but I think we're looking at what we want to approve as a board is who is on it and what they're supposed to be meeting about when there's a committee meeting, right?
Okay.
I think those things are, however.
What the tasks are, what they're
correct.
Trying to achieve.
Yes.
Okay, so are we okay with the wording as is? Any strong opinions one way or the other?
I agree with Ms. Shaw's sentiment that it should include the who and the what. So I guess if maybe do we strike through structure, or we just add a comma, a committee, comma, structure, and assigned duties, or we can leave it alone. I guess I'm open to other suggestions, but again, I just want to make sure that it's clear that it includes the members.
Sure.
I mean, it could say the committee members, comma, structure, and assigned duties must be approved. If we just add the word members.
I'm fine with that. Any thoughts at that end of the table?
I think structure is the makeup. It's who's going to take the notes, who's going to lead the committee, who's making the committee up. I don't think it's vague. I just read that to see like the structure of the committee, whatever makes it up. And then it goes on from there, assigned duties of those individuals that make the structure of the committee. That word did not catch my eye. This seemed to make sense to me.
Okay.
No change requested from me.
Okay. So, Mr. Keller, would you be okay with how it's worded here? Understanding that the understanding at the table is that it includes all the things? Or would you like to motion to
My preference would be
amend?
with, more in line with Ms. Shaw, where we say community, add the word members and then comma structure.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion?
I guess unless there's any other feedback before
Oh,
we-
okay. Any other feedback from that end of the table?
Not on that particular item, so I would support the motion.
Okay. Okay.
I have another,
Okay. All right, we'll attack this one
Yeah.
first. But if, Mr. Scott, if you may be proposing another change, maybe we should wait to make that motion and do it all at once?
yeah, we could do that.
Okay, all right, so Mr. Keller, sit on that one. Thank you. Go ahead.
So I know that we've had some discussions in the past about adding some language in here in regards to memorializing these meetings in video, audio, live stream, et cetera. And I've had some conversations with individuals on the board and trying to get a feel for what people were comfortable with. I think the resolution that we're going to rescind, I believe, says they should be live streamed. My conversations with some individuals on the board, I think the general idea I received back was that the live streaming is not necessarily a required component as long as the meetings are recorded and uploaded in a timely manner. You know, we use the example of a curriculum committee, a teacher wanting to be able to access that. If it's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, they're no more likely to live stream it than to attend, but much more likely to try to find it later on. So I did come up with some language that would require that these meetings be recorded. And I can read it real quick. Essentially, all committee meetings of the board shall be recorded in both video and audio format, and the complete unedited recording shall be posted to the district website within 24 hours of the conclusion of the meeting, unedited as to substance. Essentially, so it's fine to add titles or intros, but the entire meeting will be uploaded within 24 hours in audio, video format. So that would be my suggestion on what to add. And if I had to choose a place to add it, it would probably be immediately after paragraph 1. So somewhere between lines 28 and 29 in 0155.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I love that you have something drafted to include that language. I would propose that we include it in 168.3 instead of in 155. Because the 168.3 focuses on the committee meetings themselves and how the meetings are managed, whereas this is the committees, like more the structure, the higher level. Would you be willing to consider that?
That would be fine with me. Both have similar language about Open Meetings Act, I believe, and yeah, it doesn't matter which one it goes into me.
Okay, I felt that it was a better fit for 168.3 since that was committee meetings, unless there's any strong opposition to that. If we can hold that amendment for the discussion on the next one, that would be
Yep.
great. Okay. All right, so anything further regarding this policy, 155? Any other further adjustments, requests? If not, then I'll pass it back to Mr. Keller again. let you propose an amendment there.
Thank you. So I move to amend policy 0155 to say the committee members, structure and assigned duties must be approved at a meeting of the board by a majority vote.
Second.
Okay, so motion to amend policy 155 by Mr. Keller, approved by Mr. Gogolewski. And that would be so that the sentence that begins on line 25 is the committee members, structure and assigned duties, ... So we're adding members to that sentence. All right, any discussion on that motion to amend? Hearing none. This is motion to amend to add the word members to that first paragraph on line 25. This is brought forward by Mr. Keller, supported by Mr. Gogolewski. Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. All right, so back to the motion on the table, which would now read as amended instead of as presented. This is a motion from Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell, to revise policy 155 now as amended. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. Item 2B, revised policy 168.3, committee meetings.
Okay. I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the board president, approves revised policy 168.3, committee meetings as presented.
Second.
Okay, presented by Mr. Campbell, supported by Ms. Custodio. Policy 168.3, committee meetings. Bless you. We've had, Mr. Scott has already kind of addressed the issue. I had intentionally left out the language, though I knew that from our discussions there was consensus at the table that we wanted to include some type of language in this policy, or in one of these policies, to address the concept of recording and or live streaming, as it was included in that original resolution. I wanted to make sure that we addressed the logistics and the potential other considerations for depending on what option that we chose here. So like Mr. Scott was saying, from conversations that I think we've all had, the live streaming doesn't necessarily seem to be a need to have, right? We just want to make these available later for those who can't attend. So if that's the case, that I think lessens the impact on our IT department to have somebody in the room to support that and make that happen. So that to me is a plus. And it's one less calendar that we have to consider for when we're scheduling these meetings as well. There was also an option that has come up in recent conversations that I've had that could include an audio recording and do kind of like a podcast idea instead of a video recording. I don't know if that's palatable to the board, if that would be reasonable or a viable option, as long as they're available and as long as there is some sort of, well, whether it's video or audio, there still has to be some sort of transcribing, some transcription process that has to happen, just as it does on YouTube. Our videos on YouTube, I understand, are automatically transcribed through YouTube. But if we're posting a different kind of recording somewhere on the website, we would need to make sure that it is transcribed as well. So that's another step in the process. And with that in mind, going back to Mr. Scott's proposed language, I would want to allow more time than 24 hours so that we can allow for that transcription process to happen. And, depending on the timing of the meeting, et cetera, I think adding at least one more day would be more practical. I guess I kind of want to open it up for any other discussion or ideas. I would love to have something in this policy that is kind of like the foundation or the bottom, I can't think of a better word, but the baseline for what we want to include for all of our committee meetings. So instead of asking, I think I used this expression with Mr. Keller, instead of asking for the sun, the moon, and the stars, and having all the technology and having everything in place for every committee meeting, what's enough? What's enough to have something professional, something accessible, and something that can be shared by all the community without necessarily having all the bells and whistles and the added expense and logistics and all of that. So just some other things to consider. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Without knowing the inner magic that happens when we have some support here that live streams, how difficult is it to record versus doing the live stream, and just what exactly is needed in terms of expertise and personnel? How does that work?
Chuck, could I defer to you and your team for that?
Yeah, so if you want to live stream, obviously, we'll have to have personnel here to sit and set it up. And if you choose live streaming, I think the best format will be to sit at this table using the same camera, the same sound system to pick all that up. That's going to be the best way to do it. The downside of that is, depending on how many committees there are, when our committee's held, and to ask our technology department to give up their evenings many, many times because of potentially multiple committee meetings going on, I think is asking a lot, because it takes them away from their families. If the meetings were held during the school day or the regular business hours, then at least Mr. Usher could assign one of his tech people to come and be a part of it. Now, that takes them out of the loop for whatever work they have to get done or whatever, but that's probably a more palatable approach than to do them all in the evening, requiring that to occur.
Well, actually, my question is, how easy is it just to do an audio recording versus live stream?
So I would ask
somebody just have to hit a button, or
So I would ask Mr. Usher to probably set up a system that, whether it be, and Mr. Usher, if you don't mind, you're the expert, you're here, would you be willing to address that, come up and address that? What would be the easiest way to do a recording, for instance, like with a laptop at the table? You help us figure that out.
So first of all, I appreciate the fact that y'all think that I'm an expert at this, but the reality is that none of my staff are experts at doing recording and streaming and this kind of video things. We've learned that as we've had to. The guys, Cam and Jason, both learned that for esports. I have some audio experience through being an auditorium manager. Not every tech person is going to have that ability, and so forth and so on. So I'm just throwing that out there so you're aware of it. But I also want to say that with regard to what is the easiest, what is something that I think that an average everyday person could do with regard to these meetings, I would suggest setting up a laptop or that desktop computer over there. We connect a camera to that. Y'all kind of sit around the camera. I'm assuming this is not a committee of the whole, right? We're talking about small groups of 3 people or so. If that's the case, you can all sit around that camera. That audio can be heard by everyone. It is not going to be as good an audio as you have right now, where you're talking into the microphone individually and so forth. But it's going to be probably good enough for what you're looking at being able to do, and that is have these meetings recorded so that you can refer back to them, so that members of the public can refer back to them, and members of the school district can refer back to them if they need to or want to. I think that's the easiest possible solution, which means you've got a camera, you've got a laptop. You've logged into the laptop, you have the camera, you have a piece of recording software, it's all ready to go. You literally push record, and when you're done with the meeting, you do your meeting. When you're done with the meeting, you push stop recording. That file is then saved locally on that computer. Somebody will have to then retrieve that file the next day. We'll have to get that over to the technology department, or we'll just come and grab it, or whatever it is, and then we'll upload that to YouTube for the next year and a half or so. Once we get into that April 26, 2028, and there are slightly different requirements laid on us by the Office of Civil Rights with regard to ADA compliance, then at that point in time, we're going to have to consider strongly how it is we're going to get the proper transcription. And if you think about how long that committee meeting might be and how many words there might be, uploading that to YouTube is one thing, but then you have to go there and you have to create the correct punctuation, put periods in the right place, correct words that aren't legible or intelligible by Google at that point in time. That could be, to Mr. Scott's point of where he was talking about perhaps a 24 or 48-hour window. Honestly, that could be longer than that. If we're having somebody do it in district, if we're dedicating a person and it's not a member of the technology department, maybe we can find a person that can do that, or we can hire a person to do that. But I think there are a lot of logistics that we have to consider. We could also potentially find a service to send that off to, or have a service do that for us. There will be a charge for any of those things, obviously. There will be a fee for that. But I think that's the easiest possible solution to recording if you're going to use a laptop and just a camera and set that up and just do it that way.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Usher, we are going to have a call to public in these meetings. I do like the microphone setup. I mean, if we use this room and the board members or, 3 board members sitting at the table, we can have the call to public. How difficult or easy would it be to kind of use the existing infrastructure in here, the camera, the microphones, to handle the recording without needing the live stream component?
It's doable. There is a procedure that somebody who has to follow, quite frankly, and I'm going to be straight up with y'all. I came here with my guys today and spent about 45 minutes to an hour going through what I would have to do in order to make this happen. I am not an expert at sitting over there and making this thing happen. And the live streaming piece is actually just one little tiny button push component to making sure that everything is booted up, everything is loaded in the proper order, and everything is working. So we would have to train somebody to do that, Mr. Scott, to be honest with you. I don't think just the average Joe walking on the street can come in and easily do that. It's not that complicated, but there is a process that will have to be followed every time. More importantly, it's the ability to troubleshoot when something doesn't go right. Okay, that's the more important piece to me. With any of these scenarios, we have to have somebody here who's capable of troubleshooting and potentially resolving the situation so that the meeting can continue and can be recorded, especially if it is written into board policy.
Can I ask you, Mr. Usher, because I made the comment that one of the downfalls is having that person here, right? Yes, we can pay your technology people, which we do at board meetings, to come once a month and sit there and do that job.
Mm-hmm.
But with potentially multiple, I think there's 5 or 6 committees I've seen potentially that could be meeting all of them sometime during a month. That's a lot of time away. Or having to pull your team during the regular workday. So if it's a meeting at 8 a.m. or a meeting at 3 in the afternoon, there's still time that you have to pull your team away. But to you, what's the better approach? Just so the board knows, not that we're telling them what to do, just what's the better approach? Pulling your guys and paying them in the evening or gals, or doing it, if committees are going to be recorded, live streamed, whatever they're going to do it during the business hours of the day. What's more palatable?
Yeah, so I think that my staff right now, as it currently sits, is pretty well tapped with regard to the after-school events, the other things that we've got going, the other things we volunteered already to be part of, esports, drama, et cetera, et cetera. We spent auditorium managing, all those things. We spend a lot of time here. My tiny little staff spends a lot of time here, and I don't want to put more and more stress on them so that we potentially lose good people. Honestly, if I'm shooting straight, which I want to do, that's the case. with regard to doing it during the day, Chuck, I'm really worried about the amount of time, because I don't know what that could look like, how many meetings it's going to be, how long those meetings are going to be, if that were to be the case, whether or not my existing team could still get the work done that we need to get done effectively, and we're not taking something away from a teacher sitting in a classroom saying, I can't teach today. That would be the worst thing ever for me and for my staff, because that's our number one goal, is to support education and make sure our kids can learn and teachers can teach.
So what I'm hearing you say is, if the board makes the decision to move forward with everything having to be a certain way, it could require the administrative team and the district to say, hey, board, in order to get this done, we need to hire somebody. And this is what it looks like. Just saying, that could be part of the conversation long-term.
Yeah. From my perspective, I think that would be potentially a direction we would need to go. And I don't think my existing team can continue to support more and more and more with regard to the committee meetings and what we're already doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that candid input.
Yeah, thank you.
So I think with that in mind, I would love to find a solution, and maybe what Mr. Scott has drafted would do that. And with Mr. Usher's idea of like the simplest approach, where we wouldn't necessarily have to have someone in the room. My concern about using the setup the way you described it, like if we use that desktop computer at the back of the room, the committees aren't going to be more than 3 people, because it'll be 3 board members, but it's also superintendent and his team as appropriate for each of those committees. So if it's building and finance, then we're going to have Becky in the room, we're going to have Rachel in the room. So or not building and site. So it's more than just 3 people. So we would need to consider some type of setup that would accommodate multiple people. And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's a handheld microphone? I don't know.
We would have to think about that. I guess the reality is once you decide the direction you wish to go, we will do the darndest we can to get it and get it right, so that it's easy for y'all to get done, and then for us to get that file and get it uploaded as quickly as possible, given the transcription pieces. But yes, once you decide, we will figure out what we think is the best and easiest method, if that were to be the direction you were to go, where my team wouldn't have to be present for those meetings.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So go ahead.
I like, Mr. Scott, your idea with audio, video. I thought initially if we just do audio, that'd be cheap and easy. Problem with that is you're really not going to know who's speaking. So nice to have that video component to it. In my mind, I'd love to see it at that back table, just informal and just easy conversation with the committees to be more engaged with the public that shows up. But to your point, President Coleman, is just to start kind of on the lower end with something simple, just to see, because it's going to evolve no matter what we do. I think if we start with that computer and a camera, and then for the audio side, it's going to be a little more difficult if somebody wants to speak at the back of the table to get some kind of audio component that is something we can pass around. But again, something that can evolve. And to put the number on it, you figure if these meetings are 2-3 hours, that's over $300 to $500 a pop for audio video staff to come with the approximate price that we were given. And that's going to add up pretty quick if we have multiple meetings per month. So to your point again, President Coleman, it'd be nice to start low, and I would support that, absolutely. Something in the back of the room with that device. My proposal, talking with other board members about this, was 3 business days to get it up. I think 24 hours, that'd be great. But I don't know if it's really an exigent matter where we have to get it up so somebody can see what the heck facilities talked about less than 24 hours ago. So the other person proposed 5 business days. But certain things come up with staff that we have to prioritize and when they can get to this committee stuff. So I'd like to get your opinion also for what you think the turnaround should be. But also if we have something written in here about equipment failures. If we have 5 or 20 people that show up, I think we can still have that committee meeting as long as it's addressed during that committee why we cannot do the audio video for it, and we're still going to continue on. with diligent notes taken and uploaded somehow too, so just to address that. So that's all I have right now, but if we can get your opinion, what do you think a reasonable turnaround time would be, considering the stuff that comes up? And I don't think we need to include, unless I'm mistaken, the transcription now to perfection. So with that in mind, as we sit here today, what do you think the reasonable turnaround time would be to have that uploaded?
I would be a fan of a 72-hour turnaround time, so that gives us time. That being said, we always strive to beat our time frame, right? We don't want to go up until that 72-hour moment. We want to really get that up as early as possible and as quickly as possible for everybody. But to your point, if things happen, if servers go down, if all of a sudden cameras go down across the district and we got to really focus on that, I don't want to put us into a situation where we're going to be violating board policy and have to stay up 24 hours straight in order to try to get something done like this. I'd like to have a little bit of a cushion there. Later on, in 2028, we can deal with that deadline and the transcription at that point in time.
Yeah. So I think the language would be not so much 72 hours, but business days, 3 business days. Because if we have it on Thursday, obviously, so, okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Does anybody, do you know, Chuck, the policy for our regular board meetings? When we added the language to that policy for recording and live streaming, did we include, wasn't there some words in there about equipment failure or when possible? Or I feel like there was something in there that gave that buffer, that if there was something that went wrong and we weren't able to record, or the recording, was broken or whatever, that I feel like there was something in that policy. I don't remember what policy number it is.
I don't exactly remember the language, but I do, I like your reference to whenever possible. Anytime you can put it in there, that helps. And keep in mind, there'll always be a backup. We do have on our website committees and regular meetings, and we do put all the minutes of the committees posted. So if somebody wanted to see it right away, Renee usually gets those in a very reasonable time frame. She can at least put the minutes up there so people can look at the minutes and go, okay, when the video is available, I can go there. And if it's not available, I at least have minutes available.
I think the OMA requirement on minutes, I believe, is 7 days, 5 or 7.
So, Mr. Scott, could you read the draft that you read to us before?
Yeah, and I
Thank you, Mr. Usher.
I agree with Mr. Campbell about the 3 business days after hearing everybody out. So the proposed language would be all committee meetings of the board shall be recorded in both video and audio format, and the complete recording shall be posted to the district website within 3 business days of the conclusion of the meeting, unedited as to substance.
Okay, so what you've got is video and audio.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there consensus that we want to require both in policy at this time? Are we okay with just audio? Do we want to require video as well? Any thoughts? Mr. Keller?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I heard Mr. Usher correctly, the issue is troubleshooting, right? It's a button click for a live stream, and everything else, the setup, all that stuff, whether it's at a table back there, if we keep the same format, it sounded like the biggest issue was troubleshooting. And so if we had somebody that's just coming in to push a button and then leaves, I don't think that's going to address the concern over troubleshooting. So if it goes down, nobody knows until we try to post it and it's a dead feed, right? So I guess I'm not sure how we can try to pull off a hybrid approach where we don't specify either don't do anything, which I'm not advocating for, or we have to do it all. Because I feel like if I heard Mr. Usher correctly, again, it's a troubleshooting issue more than anything. So I would be a proponent that we provide a consistent product to the community, and that includes, maybe that means sitting up here, or we figure out a format out there, but I just assume we continue to do what we're doing today.
So you're proposing live streaming all committee meetings, is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't understand, if we're going to release them to the public anyways, which I'm for, Why not just do it live? Because it sounds like it's one more button.
I mean, I disagree with you. I think from what Mr. Usher said, there are operational, financial, people components to that I think just pushing a button, I think, is simplifying it. I mean, I think that recording is, transparency and providing what happens at committee meetings doesn't have to be live streamed. Anything that happens at a committee meeting, whatever is discussed, let's say building a new baseball field, well, that's going to come to a board meeting for discussion, and then it's going to come to a vote. So it's not like something that happens at a committee meeting is going to be voted on by the full board, like within 3 or 5 business days. So, I mean, again, we have to consider the practicality of live streaming committee meetings. If we have 4 in 1 week plus a board meeting in that same week, again, I think we're going to impact staff working in buildings and having computer problems that aren't able to be addressed because staff have to be here to handle committee meetings. Again, we can always readdress this. If doing something like that doesn't work, we have the option of reconsidering live streaming or doing something different. But again, I think we have to consider all of those other operational consequences if we continue to live stream committee meetings.
I'm struggling a little with the idea of the live stream. From what Mr. Usher said, I heard that we could be preventing him from having adequate staff to help teachers, and I don't think that that's something that we should be doing. And he mentioned staff burnout. He has great staff right now, and they're already spread thin. So I think it's something that could evolve over time, but I think we start small. Their transparency is still there, and we can go from there.
But, to address your question on resources, my point of my comment was that it sounds like it's the same resources whether we live stream or not. So either we're pulling them in to record it, set it up, get it ready, troubleshoot it, whether it's live streamed or not. That's kind of what I heard. It was
Actually, Greg, I think
an extra button to hit the live stream.
I think what Mr. Usher was saying is that we would, as the committee, right, turn that computer on, go to the software, press the button, the meeting is done, I press stop. We don't involve an
If it's
IT
just
staff
recorded.
member, right? It's us. We would be the IT person that, press the start and stop button, that it would be that simple. I mean, if you've ever done a Zoom meeting, if you've ever done, recorded yourself or anything, am I correct that it would be us?
Yeah.
And then they would come and retrieve the file.
Correct.
So I'm familiar with the system back there that we use at work, and it's pretty simplistic. And I know from speaking with Mr. Usher's coworker that that's a very different system from what I would expect to see back there. Yes, sir. He's shaking his head yes in that corner. So, and if it is just we sit here and somebody pushes a button and leaves, there's nothing to that as far as maybe time and money. But I think going back to my point earlier, it's just the dynamic that I see for the committee meetings. Maybe it's security, maybe it's finance, maybe it's facilities, where we get somebody from the public that knows about these things that can come in and talk to us, as opposed to these formal meetings at the table. It's just a different dynamic that I see back there. And I'd like to start, again, it's something that's going to evolve. And if we start with that system back there that, again, to my understanding is simplistic and different from that operating system. And if we don't like it, 30 days later, we address that and then decide if we want to change it.
Just to back up a little bit, I'm having a hard time with the fact that in 2026, there has to be a very, very simple, inexpensive technological solution just to record a committee meeting. Maybe we're overthinking this a little bit too much. I know a couple of people that run their own little podcasts right off their cell phone. I'm having a hard time thinking that it's got to be this complex. And maybe the company that installed our cameras could give us or provide us a little bit of expertise and say, if you want to record a meeting, just maybe an audio recording, maybe this is all you need, and it's a simple little device, and we hook it up, and there you go. I hope I'm not
I think what
overly
you're describing,
simplifying.
I think what you're describing, Glenn, is the scenario that Mr. Usher was talking about by using the setup in the back of the room. That, we either have a laptop or we use that computer, we set up a camera, and is the audio going to be perfect? No, but it would be something there's a recording application on the machine, you hit go, you hit stop. So I think you're absolutely right that there is a lower impact, a lower maintenance approach to this.
Sure.
That's definitely possible, and that's what Scott was saying would be like his ideal, like the simplest way to do it. And so that would be exactly that. It would be us doing it on either a laptop or a desktop that's here with that application on it, and we would just push the button.
And the simplest thing would be an audio recording. It may not be video, but
Right, which is why I was asking the audio-video question to see, if that's the simplest way to do it, maybe we just require in the policy that it's audio and not video and see what we can get with that. And then if we need to add video, then let's do a video recording.
Yeah, at
But
a
as long
later
as we
date.
have a baseline. Now, I think the question, though, that you were raising in this last comment was more directed at the live streaming part of it. And I think that is much more complicated. Yes, there is one button, but there's still a process that he has to go through to tee it up and to get the things in motion, as I understand it. So tell me again, sorry to ask this again,
That's
Jeff,
fine, and I'll,
But just, does the way it's drafted, does it include live streaming, or is it,
No.
it just says recording?
Just video and audio, and I am 100% confident we can come up with a system to record video and audio without the necessity of having an IT staff person here. I'm involved with township meetings that are recorded, both audio and video, and they do have it set up so it's push a button. Now, obviously, the IT staff has to set that up and be prepared. And if it puts a strain on the IT staff, there's third parties that can set this up for us too. So I'm 100% confident that we could do audio, video, 3-day turnaround with little impact on staffing. So with that said, I move to amend policy 0168.3 to include a third bullet point, which reads, all committee meetings of the board shall be recorded in both video and audio format, and the complete recording shall be posted to the district website within 3 business days of the conclusion of the meeting, unedited as to substance.
Okay, motion to amend by Mr. Scott.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Campbell. Okay, I am not going to capture all of that out loud and write it down here, so I'm going to refer to it succinctly as motion to amend the third bullet as presented by Mr. Scott to the existing policy motion on the table. And Renee will make sure that Mr. Scott gets that wording to you following the meeting should this pass. All right. Any additional discussion on this motion to amend?
I'll just say, it's not what I was hoping for, quite honestly. I do think the live stream, if we're going to do one, we can do all. But given that it is better than the original document, I will support it.
It's what we strive for is consensus.
And I agree. I think it would be great to live stream. My goal here is to try and not overly burden the staff. And if we can get it set up so that the live stream is just as easy and it works with our format, great. But yeah.
Okay, motion to amend brought forward by Mr. Scott, supported by Mr. Campbell. This is to amend a third bullet to the presented policy change. Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion to amend passes. So original motion on the table is revised policy 0168.3 committee meetings, which will now read as amended.
President Coleman, a question on that.
Yes.
Is there something that is going to relate or cover us then if we have an issue with technical equipment? Or do we need?
Great call. Great call. We brought that up, but didn't include that. And again, without having the regular meeting policy in front of me, I don't know what verbiage we used in that policy, but I do feel like there was some kind of when possible or whenever possible or some type of wording added in that policy that I would like to mimic here. Is anyone opposed to adding? I'm just looking for the best spot to put it.
I mean, we've had at least one meeting where the recording was not available, and another where a part of it was not available. I mean, I don't think there's been any major pushback from board members or administration. I think it was explained and everyone understood.
Right. I guess the point, like Mr. Usher was making earlier, is that we don't want to be breaking board policy if the recording is lost or interrupted or broken. So if we've got something in there that's a bit of a cushion that says, okay, we put forth our best effort, but there was a technological error, something.
Can I make a suggestion that we look at that policy to see what we added to it, and then just include it here, or if at the end of that sentence that we added the third bullet point, it says, if possible.
Or whenever possible.
Whenever possible. So, and again, I don't have it in front of me either, but I know we did include something in the event that technology doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I agree, we want to make sure no one is set up to violate board policy.
All right, so instead of amending, how about we, I'll take a look at this offline. If we need to bring it back to amend that one piece, that way we can hopefully pass this as amended and then move on. And then we can revisit this briefly as needed.
And we don't need to go back to committee, and it can just be an action item if it's a small change. yes.
Exactly.
And I think it makes us feel better as administrators and Scott in the technology department that you're acknowledging here as a live stream captured video, so we can always come back to it if we had to, that you guys understand
Yeah.
that sometimes things just happen.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so back to the original motion on the table, which is revised policy 168.3 committee meetings, brought forward originally by Mr. Campbell, supported by Ms. Custodio, and has been amended. Any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. Okay, next up, item 2C, committee meetings resolution rescind.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent and the board president, rescinds the committee meetings resolution as discussed.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Shaw,
Support.
supported by Mr. Campbell. Any discussion on the motion?
I'll just say real quick that since I was the one that introduced the resolution, I appreciate President Coleman and everyone that's worked together to put it into policy. And I think that was a good accomplishment, so thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is committee meetings resolution rescind, brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Mr. Gogolewski?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. Next item is item 2D, closed session request, legal opinion discussion.
I move that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the board president, enters into closed session to discuss written correspondence that is exempt from disclosure under attorney-client privilege per section 8(1)H of the Open Meetings Act.
Motion by Mrs. Shaw. I have no support. Okay.
Support.
Okay. Mr. Campbell has supported. All right, so the motion on the table is a closed session request. When I followed up with legal counsel after our last regular meeting regarding the requirements and expectations for the board after receiving Mr. Hughes' resignation letter, and then considering the questions both at the board table and then in subsequent discussions from board members, our legal counsel recommended that we enter into closed session to discuss the acceptance of the resignation and the implications, requirements, et cetera, that apply. I accepted that recommendation and added the motion for this closed session. It's intended as an opportunity to allow the board to better understand, have an opportunity to ask council any questions they may have, and benefit from hearing answers of everyone else's questions. So it's informational primarily. If the board majority does not feel the need to ask council any further questions, if they don't feel the need for this, then there may not be a need, but following council's recommendation, I wanted to offer this. Any discussion?
Can you read that last part again about the purpose of the closed session?
Sure. I accepted that recommendation and added this motion for closed session. It is intended as an opportunity to allow the board to better understand, have an opportunity to ask council any questions, and benefit from hearing the answers to everyone else's questions.
But I think you said something about discussion of right before that, maybe?
I don't know. I was ad-libbing a bit, so
Okay.
I don't recall exactly.
So my understanding, the request is to go into closed session to review a legal opinion from district council.
A written communication from district council, yes.
But we would not, I guess the discussion part is what threw me a little bit. We're not discussing strategies or next steps. Okay, I want to be clear because
No, the letter wouldn't permit us to go into any deep discussion about any of that. It does reference the policy that that would guide us essentially. But no strategy. No, it's informing the board of the implications of accepting or not accepting.
reviewing legal opinion, asking questions on legal opinion or legal memorandum, whatever it is.
Yep.
No, as long as we're clear, we're not veering off into discussing any other bigger picture items in closed session.
Yep.
So I supported this just because it's on the agenda, so it can be discussed and move forward. So I appreciate the work President Coleman, you and others did to make sure we're good on this. And I have no intent to go into closed session and appreciate the legal opinion provided to us for review. So that was the purpose of the support, just so it can be addressed, being that it is on the agenda. So thank you again for your work with this.
Okay. Any further discussion?
So I'm sorry, did Mr. Campbell say he does not support going into closed session? Okay, all right, thank you. I would agree with that.
So has anyone had the opportunity to read the legal opinion?
No, based on best practice from our attorney, I have a hard copy of the letter and would share hard copies in closed session.
So the only way to get that information is in closed session.
Correct.
Okay.
But, so someone's not in favor of seeing a document that we didn't see? Is that how I understand that? Okay.
So
it's hard to make an informed decision about, I know Mr. Scott's been very deliberate with his questions and trying to understand, and, I think all of us probably, want to keep everything in open meetings and have, 100% transparency. So I understand where there's some concern about going into closed session. But also as a board member, I struggle to say I can't see a document that we're also we may need to make
Exactly.
a better decision. So that's,
Mm-hmm.
and that better decision could be better for the community, the taxpayers. So I think in that situation, would like to have the opportunity to read the legal opinion. It's I guess, just a frustration perhaps that we can't just see it so we can make the decision, but.
And I will say too, at the last meeting, there were some questions asked about implications for accepting the letter, or if it was called a retirement or resignation. And as President Coleman did, she reached out to legal, got their opinion. We did have a meeting with our attorney about this, and he gave us some information. But again, so that way the board has the same information and all the information, just like we asked Mr. Usher questions about his expertise in video recording these meetings. We asked our attorney implications of accepting or not accepting or negotiating with our superintendent when he sent us a letter of retirement. So again, I think, asking our experts about what implications have we not thought of? What are the legal implications? That is an important question we ask of our attorney, because again, we are not attorneys. We can't think of all of those angles. So I appreciate the fact that President Coleman did ask for that legal opinion for us to consider before we take action on accepting the superintendent's retirement letter.
President Coleman, the document that Mr. Hughes handed to you at the last meeting, was that read in full at the meeting?
Yeah, and then it was in the weekly update.
But there were
next
no
week.
additional documents?
Nope. One-page
Everything
letter.
was either in that update or read aloud?
Yes.
At our last meeting?
Very good question.
I know you were ad-libbing a little on the purpose of the closed session. I worry that there may be, that it may not fit the current exemption that we're citing to go into closed session.
How so?
In that, I don't have Open Meetings Act in front of me, but if it's not a legal, we're not even calling it a legal opinion, just a memorandum, right? What did you refer to it as?
Written communication.
Written communication.
The motion says written correspondence.
So
That's exempt because it's exempt from FOIA?
I don't know whose phone that is. I have OMA in front of me.
It says exempt from disclosure under attorney-client privilege.
Yeah, 81H is to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute. So because this is a communication from our attorney, that makes it exempt. That's why it fits under 81H.
I guess I'll ask the other board member. I was fortunate enough to be in the committee, so I got all my questions answered, but, as someone who's many times not been in the committee and wished I had had the opportunity, I'm curious if I know Mr. Campbell gave his opinion, but Mr. Gokoleski, Ms. Custodio, Mr. Scott, if you are all comfortable with the great explanations that President Coleman, Vice President Shaw, and myself gave you, then I guess maybe we don't need to go, but any opinions?
I'm a little jaded because of the history of lack of certain information being provided to us, so maybe that's why I'm a little hesitant. But as Mr. Scott asked, if that was read as a whole, and if the members of that committee were satisfied I'd be willing to go along with that then.
Yeah, I can elaborate too. I mean, President Coleman and I didn't have countless conversations, but a few conversations. She shared some things that were brought up during the committee, and then things you asked Mr. Keller in the previous meeting. So I was satisfied with the answers provided, and again, based on the legal opinion given in my capacity, I don't think I'm one that can question that. So if we go into closed door and I go through it with a fine-tooth comb, I think I'm going to still come out with the same decision based on conversations with President Coleman. So.
Any further discussion?
I was going to say, you know, I definitely trust the committee and I trust the explanations I've got. If legal counsel is recommending it, that's the only concern I have. But if we're reaching a consensus that we don't need closed session, I would be okay with that as well.
I look at it as I am prepared to vote on 2E, and but I think going into closed session would only add, I don't see the upside. I see the potential downside down the road, being accused of violating the OMA. I don't see the upside if we're prepared to vote on 2E, so.
I guess I get your hesitation on that, but I truly don't believe that our attorney would lead us down the path of violating OMA. So, but I hear what you're saying. It's the optics, I guess. Sure. Any further discussion on this? Okay. Motion on the table is closed session request legal opinion discussion. Motion brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Mr. Campbell. Mr. Gogolewski.
No.
Mr. Campbell.
No.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
No.
Mr. Scott.
No.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion does not carry. Okay. Yep, thank you.
Sit out there. You guys can do the next
You're
couple
good.
on your own.
Yep. Okay.
Well, if you want, you don't have to sit there.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to item 2E, which is the acceptance of Superintendent Hughes' retirement. Go ahead and read that. Somebody.
I move that the Board of Education accepts Superintendent Hughes' retirement in all capacities, with his last day of work being December 31st, 2026, as presented at the July 20th, 2026 Board of Education meeting.
Support.
Okay, motion from Mr. Campbell, supported by Mr. Keller. Renee, before we go any further, could you send a text to Mr. Davis? Thank you very much. So as you know, Chuck and his team obviously don't need to be a part of the conversation that we're going to have here. So Chuck had given me a heads up that they would be vacating the table, which kind of makes sense. The main policy that the board is to rely on for the replacement of the superintendent is 1220, employment of the superintendent. The two key lines that I've picked up on from this policy is the board shall actively seek the best qualified and most capable candidate for the position of district superintendent, and all interviews of applicants by the board or a committee of the board shall be done in open meetings. As far as providing any direction for the process or giving any step-by-step procedure, this policy does none of that, and it's not intended to. And that's kind of the direction that we need to take our discussion here now. So there are obviously a few different paths. More often than not, I believe that boards choose to, oh.
Can I interrupt you?
Oh, yes.
Do we first need to vote on the motion
No, we're deliberating, we're discussing.
about accepting his retirement letter?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm just kicking off discussion. Oh, okay. Oh, you're right. What I am saying is next. Thank you. All right, so I'm jumping ahead. So you're right, Cindy. Thank you for pointing that out. So motion on the table is acceptance of the retirement per his letter that was presented to us at last month's meeting. It's brought forward by Mr. Campbell, supported by Mr. Keller. Discussion on this motion. None at all. Thank you. All right, so Mr. Gogolewski,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Ms. Custodio?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Motion carries. Congratulations. All right, so now I was jumping the gun. Thank you, Mrs. Shaw, for pointing that out. Item 3A, superintendent search process. So policy 1220 gives us a little bit of guidance, doesn't tell us how to do what to do, it just tells us what we need to do. Obviously, we have the option of hiring a search firm to assist with the search process, to help find candidates, manage that process all the way through. There is an option, Mr. Keller and I were talking earlier, that the board could choose to take that on as a board. We can establish a committee to take that on. The committee could even work with a hired firm to take that on. So there are tons of options to consider. As part of our discussion tonight, I would like to appoint, hopefully we'll get some volunteers, an ad hoc committee to include myself and 2 other board members.
I would like that.
Awesome. So that we can use the committee to kind of steer the process and try to use the committee as a point of contact for any consultant that we might hire, help to vet or do a Q&A session with potential consultants or search firms, and then present those options to the board for decision. They would also need to request special board meetings to be scheduled as needed obviously for interviews, but also maybe for decisions. If we need to make a decision so that we can get the job posted and move forward with a firm, then we may need special meetings for that. And then the big item, I think, is that this committee would need to review pros and cons and recommend a general timeline to the board, which I think we should probably at least get some baseline discussion going on here tonight. The timeline, not so much in weeks for this or how many days to post or how 2-week turnaround on whatever, but more, should the search take place in the fall or should the search take place, say, in the winter, like February or March? There are pros and cons both ways. I did speak with Rod Green. He has done a number of, I think it's 60-something superintendent searches in his tenure, and I asked for his input on pros and cons regarding that. So we can talk about that. I don't know if there's any other items you guys want to hit on, or if we want to set up this committee first, but that is something I think we need to talk about for sure as a full group.
Yeah, maybe we should set up the committee first.
I have just one housekeeping item, maybe. The board received 2 search proposals after the board package went out. Can we make sure those are uploaded if they're not already to the
Sure.
With the board package, so the community can review those?
President Coleman, I would be happy to join you and Mr. Gogolewski on that ad hoc committee.
Okay, thank you.
And I will just say too, with the committee being formed, we just passed a policy that requires the full board to approve the structure and the members of committees, right? So we need to make sure that once we've talked about that, we need to take that into consideration if that is going to happen tonight. But with that new policy that we just passed, it has to be board approved.
Yep. Okay, so with the policy, or with the committee established to be Mr. Gogolewski, Ms. Custodio, and myself. And then, now we just need to establish what our purpose is, what duties we want to assign. Go ahead.
Are you accepting other nominees? Or you're limiting them to the first 2?
Well, I was just looking for 2 volunteers, but, I
know I'd be interested, but.
I mean, we're on the superintendent evaluation committee.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yes.
Mr. Scott and Mr. Keller and myself. So, just a thought.
Yeah. I guess, spreading it out a little bit.
Sure.
Are you okay with that?
Just to point out the timing. I know we haven't decided, but if it's in March, then there's at least one committee member who would not be here.
No, two.
Two.
At least one,
Mm-hmm.
which means two as well, right?
Yeah. All right, you do make a good point. So if I'm on, Ms. Custodio, it may make more sense to have somebody else that would be, that we know would be still seated after January 1st.
Do we want to consider asking Danielle to come to the superintendent evaluation committee? And instead of, and then Mr. Keller can go to the superintendent search committee?
It's about the load that you want to bear.
Are you interested in that?
Or maybe Mr.
I was going to say, or
Campbell
maybe
wants to-
Mr. Campbell would like to do some of that.
No pressure. That's a no. So Danielle,
that
I mean, maybe you just want to
enthusiasm over
swap, right? Again, like, I think we need to make sure that we don't have, we have two superintendent things going on. We should probably, have some different board members serve on those committees.
That makes sense. So, did you want to say anything, Mr. Campbell?
My reluctance is I'm going to have conflicts that I spoke with you about, President
Right.
Coleman, September and October. So it's up in the air. I'd hate to commit and then can't make it, and then there's a problem.
Understood. Thank you.
If Mr. Keller is okay with having both, then that's fine with me.
I'm fine with that, but I obviously want to give you an opportunity, so.
I think it's fine. You've already started your committee for the superintendent evaluation, so I don't want to step on any toes. I think you should just continue on with that.
Okay, so it'll be Gogolewski, Coleman, and Keller. Okay. All right, so we have that. So are there any other items that we feel this committee should be put in charge of? What expectations do we have from this committee? Mr. Scott, you look like you had some thoughts, no? Okay, I thought you were ready to jump in. I want to try to nail down some of those ideas, make sure we have it spelled out with respect to the policy that we just passed, so we can make sure we have it outlined, have the board approve what we want this committee to do, what we want the committee to achieve, and then let's tackle talking about that timeline. So anything else that you feel that the committee needs to work toward?
Definitely review and revise or ask for revisions for the proposals that we've received. Also plotting out a timeline, as you mentioned.
So I know with both companies that we receive quotes from, they can be customized, right? We can add, we can subtract. They're both willing to come to a committee meeting, to a full board meeting, to present their proposals. So I think that this committee needs to work on, the two quotes that we have, and if there are any additional, that doesn't matter, but I think need to do some interviewing and narrowing down of which search company or, which consulting company that we would use to search for a superintendent. I know that it was proposed before about the board doing that. As a individual trustee that has never served as a superintendent or has the capacity or the knowledge to know of how that should work, I would be in full support of using a third party to help us with that process. I don't have the connections, I don't have the experience, the education, and I think that using a service to help us find the best candidate is really what makes sense, right? This is the leader of our district, and I think we need to take care of relying on an expert and company that can help us, get as many applicants as we can. So
Agreed.
I would not be in support of that being handled by the committee or the board as a whole, because again, none of us, I feel, would have that expertise to be able to.
Yeah, that industry expertise.
Or even the time,
The time, yes.
because it will take time.
For
And I am in complete agreement with Mrs. Shaw. It's something that does require a little bit more expertise and somebody that can navigate the waters of going through the process, especially in terms of vetting. So.
Sure.
I agree with both of them on that. I think one of the key questions that you brought up, President Coleman, is, are we better off in the fall or the winter? I worry that these organizations would both say fall so they can get going on it. I would like to find a way that we could get some neutral opinion on when the best time to search for a superintendent is. I don't know how we go about that, but I think that would be a key component for the committee.
And I was going to say, it's probably a great question to ask anybody that gives us a proposal, which is part of the reason why I reached out to Rod.
Absolutely.
And just ask, so I can read through a couple of the points that he gave me, just to give you some more food for thought. His first response was, there is no perfect timing, right? There's no perfect time to do it because of what you have to do, what you have to know to hit the job running if you start July 1, because now all of a sudden you're hiring people, you're ramping up, you're starting school in 6 weeks, 8 weeks, depending on the district, whatever. So there's a lot that you have to know to start if you're going to start at one time, and then there's another time, well, maybe the pool isn't as deep to choose from because it's not the popular or traditional time to do a job search. So anyway, he stated that first and foremost. He said there are pros and cons no matter the timing. He said that, yeah, it's true that many may look for jobs in the spring, typically. He said, but the superintendent is kind of a different position than other, say, administrator roles because it's not tied directly to the school calendar. So it's a year-round position, so it's not as married to following that July 1st start timing or, end of the school year timing to look for something, to look for a new position. He estimated, though, that out of the searches that he said about 66, and he said 45 to 50 of them were probably in the winter, and the rest were probably done in the fall. So it's like, yeah, the vast majority do happen. He said, but there are plenty of successful placements that have been made when he has done these searches. And he said, for example, he gave me two, it was Grand Rapids and Cedar Springs right now, were right off the top of his head that are posted right now, that those are active open positions that are in with searches right now. So it obviously does happen, it's just not as common. He said, and obviously too, the fiscal year of the contract starts July 1, so that's why it seems to be a natural fit to have the new position begin on July 1, but it obviously doesn't need to. So in the fall, if we're looking for a person, we bring them on in the fall. Let's say November. At the November meeting, we vote to bring somebody in. We found a candidate. They come in. The budget, the school year is planned. The budget is set. Staffing is set, so they can come in, they can learn, right? They can learn the daily stuff, but at least the skids are greased if they come in at that time of the year. Now, I'm communicating Rod's words, but this is as I understand it. So if you're able to come in on January 1st, you can listen and learn before that full planning push starts closer to spring. He said hitting the ground running in July 1st, I mentioned earlier all the problems, like you're getting ready to open for the school year, it's hiring, it's all of those things, building issues, whatever summer projects are in place, and you have to literally hit the ground running to keep all of that going and get schools open in time. So traditionally, there are people who don't look for jobs in the fall, like for administrator positions, but he said he's seen that is changing in his experience in recent years. So there are more that are looking throughout the year instead of just in the spring. One benefit to looking in the fall is that instead of saying 60 jobs that are posted, there's 10 jobs that are posted. So you're not fighting for visibility. In a sea of 60 different superintendent positions, he said there's up to 80 per year that get posted throughout the state. So in a sea of these, we would be a bigger fish in a smaller pond versus in this huge sea of, a ton of positions. But he said the two main things, he's like the quality of the candidate pool. Can we get the same quality of candidates in the fall? And he said that's tough to answer, for sure. He said he's obviously seen a number of great candidates get put into place, and have interviews and what have you in the fall, when there was a fall search. And he said that the other item to consider, though, is, of course, the changeover of the board. Is that problem a big enough problem to affect the quality of the candidate pool? Are they going to see that, okay, well, I'm getting hired in the fall, but at least 2, maybe 3 of those board members are not going to be on that board? So is that going to hurt me? Is that going to help me? And it may make a candidate hesitate to apply or hesitate to accept an offer if it's made by a board that will not be the same when they start day one. So that's obviously something else to consider. One thing that Rod and I did do a little brainstorming about was if we waited to do interviews until after the election, and we know who our new board members will be come January 1st, we can invite those as community members, what have you, to attend the interviews. We can ask them for input. We can involve them in that so that it would put the candidate at ease, put their mind at ease, knowing that there's at least input being solicited from the people who will be on this board when they hit the job on day one. So there are ways that we can do that and incorporate them and their opinions, their feedback into that process. If we can do that once the election is confirmed. I think that's, superintendent candidate, yes. So I think that's all of my notes from my conversation with Rod. What does that spark here?
I would assume most of the candidates searching in the winter are currently employed somewhere looking for a change. Did you give any indication as to if people were searching in the fall, if those tended to be people who were not currently employed or in a desperate situation?
I didn't ask the question, but he didn't indicate that. And his words were that when he talked about how historically people used to just look in the spring, he said people are looking year round. So I took that to mean that people who even currently have jobs are looking year-round, or at least have an eye out for jobs year-round, even if they are still employed.
One of the big things and I sent everyone some information that I received from a conference I attended, but the concern that I have is as opposed to just looking at people that are looking to change jobs, what can a search company do for us for those people that haven't even considered looking for another job? Superintendents that are in place, is there a way to look at some individuals who would be good candidates and approach them, not just look for people that are sending out resumes? We can, if it's a case of looking for resumes, we can put out ads and get resumes all day long. I'm looking for expertise from a search provider that can do a lot more than just put out ads, but also know people in the industry, also look at people that may not have considered at this point, maybe switching positions. And we need to look at all of these options, not just the ones that are giving out resumes.
Yeah, that's definitely a question the committee should pose to at least the 2 proposals that we have, and any others that we consider. Yeah, for sure.
I think it'd be nice. I'd like to see it start sooner than later because we don't know who's out there, and that we now know that this will happen. January 1st, we'll need a superintendent. But we go into it with it starting, knowing that we can also take our time. So if we don't approve of candidates proposed to us after the initial round, we can certainly put interim superintendent in place and then continue on with that process.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that I did want to bring up, and I'm sorry not to cut you off, Jeff, but absolutely, there's no intense hurry to do this. We need to do this right. And if we do need an interim superintendent, I think there would be a lot of good choices that we could pull from to just literally just put their hand on the wheel and just steer the course until we find that right candidate. The last thing I want us to do is have a company ask for resumes, give us a bunch of stuff, and say, oh, I'm sure one of these will fit. No. I want to be a little, I want to push the limits on whoever we hire to help us out with that and make sure that we get our money's worth. So.
Sure, yeah, that was one piece that I neglected to mention, but we are required to have someone in that spot.
Right.
So an interim, I think we could have them overlap a little bit with Mr. Hughes if need be. And then obviously they would need to be in place and January 1st. And as I understand it, those contracts are typically written like per diem. So if they're not actually working on January 1st, it's not like we're paying them on January 1st, but they would be in place. So, if there's a building emergency, they would be the one on call. But yeah, and there is a pool. There are, Mr. Green or Dr. Green has told me that he's familiar with people who have done this in the area, in the statewide, that there are people that we could recruit if there's not an internal candidate who's interested. Then, yeah, there are definitely options to do that. But if we choose to wait, or if we pursue the fall search but then don't end up with something, with a viable candidate, then yeah, that's our next pressing thing, is to make sure we have someone in that seat for day one.
And I know for a fact there's at least one person that would apply for that interim position if we needed it, but we'd also have to make sure that that interim position, the person that would fill that role, if we chose them internally, would know that this is truly a temporary position. This in no way, shape, or form is some sort of,
Yeah, the contract
next
would be
step
for
to
interim.
to the superintendent role. And we'd have to be very clear about that.
Yep.
So.
So right now, there are, am I hearing two things then that this committee would handle? Searching for a third-party consultant and timing of the search? What else is there to add to that list?
I would expect the committee to act as a point of contact for the consultant that we hire.
Primary communication.
Yeah, primary communication would go through the committee instead of the entire board. So let's say we hire, was it MLI? That consultant would work directly with the committee and not with the whole board.
Right.
And then communications would be funneled from there. And then they would also be expected to request special board meetings to be scheduled as appropriate for decisions and interviews and things like that.
And potentially expanding the scope beyond just these two proposals, right? Like Mr. Gogolewski said, I really like that idea, kind of that headhunter. That we have the time. You could almost have a secondary part of the contract where we use the fall. Hey, go find us the 25, individuals who would be great for this position and start a communication. I don't know. Something like that.
That could also be one of the roles and conditions that we put on the company that we hire, as opposed to paying two individuals, a headhunter and a consulting firm. So I think they should be able to handle that.
I think what we include for the structure of this committee is not that detailed, but that this committee will vet and look at third-party options, right? And again, we can customize even the two that we received from what we, talking to both of them, they are able to customize what we're looking for and to help us, make the best job posting and description that, fits what Hartland is looking for. So I think, we can talk about maybe what we want exactly that to say, but I would like to eventually read a motion tonight to approve the structure and the members of this committee so that you guys can start tomorrow on moving forward.
Agreed. Yeah, so I don't know, again, how specific you want to get, but like review options or consider options and recommend a search firm, or if you want to add more words to that, but you may have it captured already.
So things like job description, that's going to come from the committee, but to then come to the board for approval?
It's a great idea, yeah.
How about job screening questions? Is that also going to be part of the committee? Because I guess one of my concerns, which is why I talked about, did it make sense to do it individually? But I can appreciate the concerns expressed with respect to vetting and things like that. But my concern with others is that they're going to screen the candidates, do all the work, and then bring them to us. I just didn't like the idea of a filter that doesn't necessarily know this board. They don't know this community. And so I think it's best that we have as active of a role as we can. Obviously, let them do the heavy lifting based on the fact that they're getting paid to do it. But I definitely want to make sure that the board, gets all the candidates and we don't just get like one resume at the end that says, this is who we recommend,
No,
and there's nothing else behind it.
Completely agree with that. And it is not my intent to hire a firm and just hope and pray that everything goes smooth. No. I want them actively engaging with us and providing us with information and making sure that scenario that you described doesn't happen. So.
Yeah, there's language, I think, in both proposals that address that, that talk about work with the Board of Education to develop selection criteria for vacancy. So there's a lot of this is addressed, so we just need to be pointed in what we expect out of that. But I think both proposals have some type of language in there to address that.
Yeah, so I guess the nuance is the committee doing it or the board? So that's kind of what I'm
Gotcha.
trying to clarify.
I think the committee.
Yeah, the committee should start doing that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think the purpose of the committee, right, is like, if the three committee members are looking at 60 resumes, like, that is, the purpose of the committee is so that you are making eventually recommendations to us, right? Eventually, you're going to pick a company and say, board, we want to use MASB. Let's vote on it. Again, recommendations from committees doesn't mean that's what we have to do. But again, like, that is the purpose of the committee, is so that you're taking all of this and making it this for the rest of us.
Yep. Absolutely.
Agreed. Anything else to consider for the committee? Any other thoughts? And obviously, we can amend if we find we get halfway through the process and we're like, you know what, this committee needs to also take this on or manage this. We can always amend and approve additional
Absolutely.
duties. Okay, so regarding the timeline, are we good with throwing that to the committee to contact those that we've already received proposals from, any further vendors that we look at, that we can address the timing question and kind of get the input from the experts and then make a
Before we
recommendation?
get to that point, though, I think the committee really needs to take a look at these proposals and say, what else do we want from this?
Sure.
What else, what other steps do we want them to provide? What other information do we want them to provide? And really make sure that they have a clear path and understanding of what we're looking for. And to constantly be in contact with us to make sure that they're doing their due diligence.
Yep.
So.
Yep, for sure. Okay. Is there anything further that anybody can think of that we need to include in the duties for this committee?
We'll try it.
Mrs. Shaw has been taking some notes. She's going to read a motion, and then we'll need to vote on that.
Just going to wing it here.
Okay. Wing it, and then we can, if we need to tidy up some grammar. or
Do we
something,
want to say as discussed about structure, or do you think we should read some things in this motion that list the structure? The list?
I
Please
think you
list.
should probably include the list, yeah.
So I move that the Board of Education approves the Superintendent Search Committee with the following members, President Coleman, Mr. Gogolewski, and Mr. Keller? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
With the following
Duties.
Including, do we want to make it to include, how do we want, we obviously don't want to say that these are the only things that you do. Do we want to say which will include?
Yes.
Searching for a third party or consulting firm? Searching for a consultant firm for the search process?
Search firm, yeah.
Timing of the search? Primary point of contact?
Okay.
And request special board meetings as necessary?
Okay, motion by Mrs. Shaw.
Do we need to include anything like, and recommend to the board for approval?
I think that that's included in the policy, right? That's already,
Yeah. 168.
it's already included in the policy.
168.3.
Yeah. I don't think that we need to.
168.3, take action, make recommendations, deliberate on behalf of the board.
Perfect.
Thank you for asking. Okay, so Ms. Custodio, did you say support? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the motion on the table, brought forward by Mrs. Shaw, supported by Ms. Custodio, is to approve the superintendent search committee, including Coleman, Gogolewski, Keller, whose duties will include search for a superintendent search firm, determine timing for the search, act as primary point of contact, and request special board meetings as needed. Any further discussion on that motion? Okay, hearing
Sorry,
none.
Sorry,
Oh, no, go
how
ahead.
did you define the third party? Determine third party
Oh, I
candidate?
said search for a search firm, I think. Does that?
Okay. Just wanted to make sure it didn't say like they're deciding. I heard it differently when you read it, so.
Oh, okay. I might have read it differently. I wrote down search for search firm, so maybe when I saw to search twice, I changed
Nominate
it
a
out
search
loud.
firm?
Yeah. How about vet, search term, or search firm options?
So just
I'll get this to you, Renee, don't worry.
a curiosity here. So if the committee goes out and they get 4 proposals and they say, hey, we like this one, will they be presenting the one they recommend? Or will they be presenting all of them and saying, X, Y, Z is the one we recommend?
I think all proposals should be shared.
I would agree.
With a recommendation from the committee. I think you guys should be able to see them. You may not be privy to all the conversations, all the questions, the back and forth, but any questions you would just direct to the committee. Does that make sense to everybody? But yeah, all proposals should still be shared with all the board members. Okay, so motion to approve motion from Mrs. Shaw, supported by Ms. Custodio, to approve the superintendent search committee, including Coleman, Gogolewski, and Keller, whose duties will include vet search firm options, timing, determine timing for the search, act as primary point of contact, and request special board meetings as needed. Okay, Mr. Gogolewski.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mr. Scott.
Yes.
Ms. Custodio.
Yes.
I'm a yes. That motion carries. Okay, is there any further discussion on the search process then? I think we're good, and then committee we will convene soon. Okay, awesome. All right, moving on to item 3B, bus stop arm camera purchase. I will wait for Mr. Hughes and Mrs. Boyes to return to the table.
Thank you. So this particular item is to ensure that our buses have all of the cameras necessary to determine if someone blows by a red flash or blows by a stop sign. But I'm going to ask Ms. Boyce to talk a little bit more about it. So Rachel, if you would.
Yep, so next month, we'll bring you a proposal to approve the purchase of a secondary stop arm camera for our entire fleet of buses. Currently, we do have a stop arm camera that faces the back. So if someone's going to run the stop, they will catch the person kind of coming towards them. There is a dash cam, but not a stop arm camera to catch somebody coming from the other side. So running the light from the other side. And so that's what we're proposing to do, is add that secondary camera to the entire fleet. We initially thought that we would do that as we replace buses over time. In the last 5 that we bought, we did add the secondary stop arm camera. However, this has been a point of discussion amongst the supervisors at the county level meetings. And so in order to encourage all districts to get the fleet up to best practice, LESA has provided funding to all the districts in the county to be able to offset some of the cost to outfit their entire fleet. And so, to add this technology is about $111,000. However, LESA can provide over half the funding to do that. And so that's what we're proposing that we do. If you have any questions about stop arm cameras, I'm definitely not an expert in stop arm cameras, but I ask that you please share those with me. I'm happy to get with Mr. Oberstead to get any of your questions answered. And next meeting, we will bring this for your approval.
Hi, question. So is there like an annual fee involved with like monitoring the cameras, or is it just one-time equipment install and any monitoring of someone that runs? How does that process work?
So part of the equipment purchase is DVRs. So all the buses have DVRs in the bus, and so it's continuously recording. So what the stop arm camera does is it tags the violation, so that you know where to look in the recording for the possible violation. It kind of gives you like a timestamp. So there's not an outside service like an alarm company or something. It's just continuously recording, kind of like our current surveillance does. If we ever need to review video, then we can go to that point and review that on our own.
So then would that video for someone that blows the stop sign, or does that get submitted to the local police department?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I think my only other question, just on funding, I'm glad to hear LESA can help. Is there anything in like 30, I know you probably already scoured the grants and things like that, but is there any 31 AA money that could be used kind of as a safety improvement that could pay for some of the other portion?
Yeah, possibly. Right now, the 31 AA money coming into this school year, I kind of have earmarked for other purposes, but depending on what our allocation looks like coming out of this new state aid budget, might be able to kind of shift some things around and get that covered. However, for now, we have it coming out of our capital project fund, but we can always make adjustments depending on what our new 31 AA allocation looks like.
Thank you.
I might be getting off subject a little bit, but are those reports done to law enforcement in real time, or does the driver get back to the garage and report it? How does that, do you know? I know it's
I don't know the answer
outside
to that
of
question,
finance, but
yeah, we can ask that question.
I guess my curiosity then from there would go to, is there a way to have that information available more real time for law enforcement rather than on DVR? I don't know if that exists or not, but.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to.
I had a conversation with the driver that they observed the violation, and then it's on them to follow up and capture that video data, and then that's provided to the county prosecutor, and then county prosecutor issues charges and then subpoenas the driver if they're needed. That's Superintendent Hughes. I see you shaking your head, but that's my understanding too after conversation. So it's initiated by the driver that observes a violation initially.
Is there any kind of recurring maintenance cost at all? Or is it maintenance as needed? Should we require it or?
Yeah, there's no ongoing maintenance. Is typically if there's an issue, we pay outright to address whatever piece of equipment needs to be updating. The cost here is simply for the equipment and the labor to install. And there is no other commit long-term.
Okay.
So the vendor listed here, that's the supplier of the parts that we are they also the maker of the equipment? So
No,
the same, just trying to understand, is it the same stuff as what we already have? on
Yes.
The ones that we have outfitted?
Yes, so the name of the camera is like Scion, I think, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. But we're buying that equipment through this vendor, and this equipment is identical to what we currently have, so that it'd be seamless between the two cameras.
Can you repeat the name of the equipment again? Scion, is that what I heard?
Don't quote me on that.
Okay, that's fine. I can get with you offline.
It's like S-E-O-N. I
It's
don't know
fine.
how you spell that.
No problem. I'll talk to you later about it.
Yeah, it says in here, S-E-O-N, Scion, stop arm camera.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay. All right, thank you. So as they mentioned, this will be coming back as a decision item and action item at next month's meeting.
Sorry, one more question. So, I'm just looking, it looks like a majority of the cost is the DVR. Is there no way to use the existing DVRs on the bus?
I asked that question, and that's currently, there's not enough space with all the other cameras on the bus. So there's not just these stop arm cameras, there's multiple cameras in and out of the bus that take up that space. And we want to have enough space to be able to record everything as it's happening in real time.
Okay, thank you. Item 4A, future meetings, September 21st here, 6:30 PM. Any informational items? Anybody have anything? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.